We have on not one, but two guests. Garnet Morris is one of them, and he is an entrepreneur with over 40 years of experience. Now, he met Olivia Chadwick, who is a MSc in Kinesiology. She's got a mental performance coaching certificate. She's a podcaster, speaker, and founder of the movement Medicine. And they had this amazing connection, and they then authored this book together, which is called 17 Runs. And in this episode, we cover some of the things that they discussed in that book. So let's dive into this episode of The Happy Hustle. Want blissful balance in your personal and professional life? Great. What's up, guys? My name is Cary Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model / actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco-warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. My goal is to educate, inspire, and entertain you to live a life of passion, purpose, and positive impact. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality. All right, Garnet and Olivia, welcome to the Happy Hustle, my friends. I am super excited to rock the mic with y'all.
Hi, Cary. Nice to meet you. Super nice to meet you.
Yeah, same here. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you guys are both happy hustlers, entrepreneurs. You just authored a brand new book called 17 Runs, and we're going to be talking all about how you can optimize your life and change your habits to achieve your dream reality today. And Garnet, you were introduced to me through a mutual friend and also fellow podcast guest, Mr. Rich Christensen. And I said, any friend of Rich is a friend of mine. I have great respect for Rich. He's a stud of a human and a happy hustler at that. So I'm excited to extract the wisdom from both of you guys and share it with our happy hustlers today. But before we get into all that good stuff regarding your new book, 17 Runs, what is something interesting about each of you that not too many people know? Garnet, we'll start with you.
Well, I don't know. I have my isms, so I just tell people I'm a 3 dressed up as a 9 and leave it at that. But I mean, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I live my life with my foot to the floor. I've evolved and evolved and evolved and evolved, and we're still really trying to solve a lot of problems for people. And that to me is the solution to every entrepreneur. The better you can solve other people's problems, the better your business will be.
Amen to that. Olivia?
God, it's so difficult to make yourself sound interesting when you just think you're a pretty regular person, you know? I'm a sports enthusiast. I've been engaged in competitive sports in various areas for most of my life, and sometimes I was half decent at it. Currently, I'm pursuing equestrian show jumping, which I just started 3 years ago, and I am a beginner, and it is horrendous. I hate being a beginner because I like to be a winner, but I'm loving the journey.
Yeah, wow. I have a lot of respect for all things equestrian. However, here in Montana, it's pretty much just Western rodeos, and not as I would say complex as some of the equestrian show jumping rules. It's just hold on as hard as you can to a bunking bronco, but nonetheless, a lot of respect and love for horses in general and those who ride them. Garnet, let's kick things off with, why did you and Olivia decide to write this book, 17 Runs?
Well, from my perspective, there was 2 points. One, Olivia is part of our chosen family, and she's launching her career. So she's kind of where she is now was kind of where I really started on the second phase of my life. So that was part of it. But part of it is I see a lot of young people that are pretty stuck as to how to actually get through life, because it's, the 20-year-olds are the ones that have caught in the slide, in social media, caught up in a lot of stuff, and our society's evolving. So I thought if I could write a book that would be really impactful for grade 12 kids and university kids, is to understand how to get through life and how to get through adversity and conquer things, that it might be of some help.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, you guys have an interesting relationship. Talk just briefly how y'all met.
Yeah, so we met back in 2011, and have a personal training business. And a friend of mine who was also a trainer reached out to me and said, "Hey, I have this client, and he's really great, very successful businessman. He's very, very kind, lovely to work with, very coachable, but really inconsistent. Like he's a very busy man. He only will meet at 5 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes he's traveling and he won't meet you. So sometimes you'll get up at 5 o'clock and he'll cancel, and you just have to roll with it. I'm a hustler. I am a hustler and I have a hustler at that because I'll do whatever, especially at
Yeah.
that time in my life, 2011, where I was really
Yeah.
trying to get my business off the ground. I would take any client, and it was the best decision. Being a hustler was the best decision that helped me because I found Garnet. We started off as this coaching relationship. Garnet had been through a big health transformation, and he had coaches in various areas of his life, and he can tell you how big that transformation was in his own words. But I was just part of the next level of the journey. We decided to set a big goal within the fitness area of his life to run the Kananaskis 100-mile relay. And in us working together to pursue that goal, we became friends. Heading out in the dark in minus 30, there's a real camaraderie and solidarity
Yeah.
that happens in those moments. We became friends, but over time, over long periods of time, with these deep conversations we would have, Garnet would show up telling me about his day. I would show up telling him about the challenges in my life, just because of the intimacy of our relationship, the way we just fell into step with one another so easily. He became my mentor at that time and has continued to be so. And our relationship has remained close. And Garnet's helped me in so many difficult areas that I faced over the last however many years, 14 years since then.
Wow. Very cool. Any color you want to add there, Garnet?
Um, no, I was afraid of Olivia too, just being talking who we're afraid of, but she was a great coach because she wonderful person, but when it comes to coaching, had no sense of humor whatsoever. So if I pushed back, she'd push back harder. Um, Not to say that she doesn't have a sense of humor in other parts of the world, but
Yes.
I would say I don't feel like stretching, and she would say, "Well, you do feel like stretching, and we're not going till you do." So end of story. So it was really um, exactly as you said, but the intimacy started almost immediately because we
Mm.
just found we could talk to each other and
Mm.
be really open and talk about things and not really have the drama of worrying about what the other person thought.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is definitely important to have those trusted connections that you could be real, be raw with. I find, especially as entrepreneurs, it can get lonely, when you're building something of value and you're really dedicated to it. You need a safe place to communicate. That's why, we have our Happy Hustle Club community and our masterminds where, you know, like high performing heart centered leaders come together to really share. And oftentimes there's tears and there's vulnerabilities that might not be shared otherwise. We actually go as far as make every guy sign NDAs before they come on our mastermind. So the Vegas rule applies, in the wilderness. And it really is beneficial when you have that connection and that intimacy, as you said.
Mhm.
Specifically, you guys talk about removing those bricks in your life, those self-limiting beliefs. And I know for me, I've had a ton of them. And oftentimes they start subconsciously in our childhood and in our developmental years. How do we remove those self-limiting beliefs, Garnet?
I well, the first thing I think you have to do is decide you're going to. So I'll just
Yeah.
start back. So you have to recognize them, and that. As you know, with Rich, there's a lot of things around Rich around values. So it's to be able to look in the mirror and tell yourself the truth.
Mm.
So if you have something that's holding you back, you have to say, like I'm stuck here. I just can't figure it out. So that's sort of the first step for me is saying I have this problem.
Mm.
The way I resolve and help move those bricks, I start talking to other people. So I've had mentors throughout my whole life. And a lot of times now I'm finding I am a mentor and they are a mentor because it's the dialogue that we have that really moves things along. And I still have bricks that we're facing all the time. But the other thing that I do with the brick is I dive in head first into projects that I have no way of knowing how I'm going to pull them off, and that just forces me to do it. I mean, and so it's knowing that construct exists and just pushing.
Yeah, for sure. You also both talk about the chosen family, surrounding yourself with those that can support your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. And, you know, I don't think people are as intentional as oftentimes they should be when deciding who they spend their most precious commodity with, aka their time. Olivia, what is your process when you do go about choosing someone to bring into your inner circle?
Oh my gosh, is there a process? Can somebody tell me what it is? Um, you know, that's such a great question. It took us to write this book to even coin that term, which sounds really silly in a way, because when people hear the term chosen family, it's not common vernacular, but when you hear it, you're like, I know what that is. Like, I have
Mm-hmm.
somebody in my life that is that role for me, but it's not a term we often use. So we understand biological family, we understand the families we were born into, we understand friends, but we don't have great systems of understanding what are the different circles. On the weekend, I actually saw Rich the other weekend, and he was telling me he actually has a philosophy of circles of trusted friends
Yep.
and community and whatnot. But that is not common
Mm-hmm.
speak. So I don't know that I necessarily have a system, but actually from even writing the book and being able to coin that term has really changed my own perspective of every relationship that I have in my life, right? Like, where are we? And honestly, the reframing has come a lot. Where it should happen first is in your current family, right? So yes, I have a biological family, but then I also have a family that I married into, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that even as I don't even know if this is naivete, because I don't know other people's inner experience, but I didn't even think when I was getting married, I thought I was marrying someone I would love and share the rest of my life with. It was my married partner. But I wasn't really thinking about the family we were creating at that time. So here I've gone, I've picked a person, and we haven't necessarily even decided what our values are as a family. And every child that we bring into this family, what are the values that we're raising them in that we believe in? And
Mm-hmm.
so honestly, it's a concept that I would say is still evolving. I'm sort of working backwards a little bit, I'd have to say, but I think that's probably most people. So I don't feel particularly bad about that. But what I do truly firmly believe is, once you hear this term and you believe the concept that family is the most important thing in life, meaning the people you surround yourself that hold you accountable and you are accountable for as too, that would take a bullet for you and you for them. Once you realize that that's the most important thing, what are you prepared to pursue that in life if it is the most important thing? And that honestly has been a massive shapeshifter, and I'm still rattling trying to
Mm.
figure out what that really means.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I heard this, I don't know who coined the phrase, but you are the sum of your five closest relationships. You either round up or you round down, right? So you always want to think about, like, who are you spending the most time with? And that could mean digital mentors, or, what podcasts are you listening to? What YouTube channels are you watching? What books are you reading? That all plays into your overall psyche, right? And if you're, if it's having a positive or a negative effect. I know you both talk a lot about building good habits and building bad ones. And Garnet, you've been, uh, you know, blessed to earn and also lose a bunch of money, it sounds like, throughout your time, and then earn it back again, as you mentioned in the pre-chat. What are some of your best money habits when it comes to, accruing wealth, specifically as an entrepreneur? And what are some bad ones that you highly recommend we happy hustlers avoid?
So I actually have my PhD in bad habits. So I
Nice.
mean, I can tell you the biggest bad habit I had, and I believe I've overcome it, was the ability to BS myself.
Mm,
And I stopped doing that, and because I got about 4 years of counseling from the Buddhist perspective, and she
mm,
was always focused on today. It's today. What are you doing about it today? So I mean, I'm a big Jim Collins fan. One of the guys I've read the most, and his whole philosophy is big, hairy, audacious goals. And I can tell you that that is where I go with everything. So but then when you have a big, hairy, audacious goal, it's because you actually are tackling really big problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find bigger and bigger and bigger problems to tackle all the time, and just tackling those problems and solving them is what leads to wealth. So then it's not like, oh, I have this idea, I'm going to sell this widget. And for some people that might work, but in my business, it's not. So I figure out the problem I'm going to solve, and then I start to figure out the how. And so that's a combination of brick, and it's a combination of throwing yourself off a bridge in a way, but being prepared that you're going to fail at some aspects. You've got to apologize. You've got to get up. You've got to keep pushing on. And I think that if every entrepreneur does that and really focuses on big problems, that's going to create tremendous growth. And we look at trying to move our net worth up by 10 or 15% every year, and it's not a publicly traded stock. This is all private, so it's real accounting. And we do it.
Mm. And what is the biggest problem that you're tackling right now in your businesses?
Well, I have two really big problems. One problem is staying awake past 5 o'clock. No, that was a joke. Actually, I'm starting a campaign for the state of Mississippi to help them move up from the last place in the health tables to into the top 25. Now, I got introduced there, and the reason I got introduced there is because I knew somebody else from Mississippi who knew somebody. And then I started finding out about the problem, and it's a lot like our home province. And so so that's what I'm going to do now. And so it's actually building a campaign. So I talked to a documentary guy today, and he's enthusiastic, and he's friends with Faith Hill, and blah, blah, blah. And so all those things are just falling into place because of this big goal. Now, I still can't tell you exactly how we'll make money, but I know it'll all work out, just because it always does. You don't start by how much you can make. You start by how big a problem you can solve. And the other one is an app we're launching in Africa called Skills Africa, where we're going to try to create inside the most of the economy in Africa is informal. And I happened to meet someone after having been to Tanzania and going to a school there. And so this app will actually let people trade skills like gardening and babysitting and things like that. But then we decided we'd launch education through it. So then started meeting all these people in the field of education. So we'll actually be able to do an American MBAs for people in Africa at a very, very low cost. And so again, we haven't exactly figured out, where there's a check at the end of this, but I just know, there always is. So those are dynamic projects, and they're exciting, and it keep me awake at times, but we'll get there. I'm positive.
Yeah, very cool. Definitely two very different problems you're solving as well, but in very different locations.
They aren't actually. So what is the root of poverty is lack of education. So we're not, so if we can get this to work in Kenya, we can get it to work in Mississippi. And so then you can be down in the Delta in Mississippi and taking an MBA for maybe $4,000 a year instead of 70. So if we can do that, we can solve a lot of problems, and we can help people evolve in the current economy with the changes that we see.
Yeah, you're right. Interesting. Olivia, I'm curious, just in terms, since we're talking money and wealth accrual and solving problems, what was the greatest lesson that Garnet has shared with you while you guys were on these many early morning runs about financial success or accruing wealth?
Oh, that's, I would never want to give a soundbite, but I actually can identify one, which is kind of surprising to me. And it was not something that Garnet told me, and he did tell me many, many things. And so many of those lessons are in the book, but this is something Garnet showed me repeatedly, just consistent action. And that was, I believe that the reason Garnet is so successful is because he is a conduit of money.
All right, my happy hustlers out there. Imagine a set of headphones that don't just play music, cancel noise, and take calls, but also optimize your brain and focus in the process. Well, that is what Neurable AI is all about. And these specific neurotech powered headphones, which track your brain waves in real time using these EEG sensors to help you improve focus, flow, and mental recovery. See, with Neurable's AI driven insights through their app platform, you can actually get personalized feedback on when you're in deep focus, when you're drifting off track, and when you need to take a brain break. That way you can lock in longer, work smarter, and reduce cognitive fatigue. And the best part is you get the hookup for being a part of the Happy Hustle Tribe. You can save $100 by going to neurable.com and using code HAPPY to save. I'll tell you what, they're made for high performers who are out there happy hustling a life that they love, both personally and professionally. And they fit with our brand mission, which is to avoid burnout and achieve that blissful balance. So I'm super stoked about this new tech that's out there and Neurable being a partner of ours. And I hope that you give them a go, especially if you're in the market for a new headphone. These are how you can ultimately increase your productivity and avoid burnout. If your brand doesn't look legit, people aren't going to treat it like it is. So whether you're building a biz from scratch or you're leveling up your current brand, 99 Designs by Vista is the ultimate creative platform for you to bring your vision to life. From logos design to app design to packaging to book covers, you name it, 99 Designs connects you with top freelance designers from around the world to create custom, memorable designs you love. We have personally at the Happy Hustle used them for book cover designs, logos, and now currently we're running a design contest for our swag shipping box. So that way, when you get a package from us, everything's branded and it looks super professional and on point. Now, you have two different ways that you can work with them. And basically, it's simple. You run a contest, let the global design community submit ideas, and then you pick the best one, or you work one-on-one with the designer who gets your vibe from start to finish. And because you're a part of the Happy Hustle Tribe, you get an exclusive $25 off your first design contest. All you gotta do is just go to 99designs.com/happy and then claim your discount and then watch your brand glow up, my friend. Do yourself a favor and just don't DIY your design. Let the pros at 99 Design by Vista help your brand thrive.
He is incredibly generous. And I don't mean that just monetarily generous, although Garnet is in that way. Like if he sees somebody is suffering in some way, he is the first person to rally, but he doesn't just rally. This is what people I think cannot know until they felt it. And that's the thing about it. I got to feel it, is that Garnet doesn't just show up and say, here, I think some money could help in this situation. Meaning, he might help you find the right person. He might give you ideas of how this problem could be solved in ways that you hadn't thought about. And he won't just tell you then. You might see him 2 weeks later and he'll say, oh, I've been thinking about that problem you've been having. And I've had several other ideas and I had a conversation with this person. The way that he just told you he solves a problem in business, he doesn't just do it in business. It's how he operates. He does it in the way that he shows up with your friend, and he does it in how he shows up with a mentor. This is a lifestyle of generosity, thinking about problems to be solved, and they might be your personal problems. And if they are, you need a Garnet.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I know Tony Robbins says the secret to living is giving, and I love that quote. And I find that many of my most quote unquote successful friends have big hearts and are super generous, but they don't do so with this, what's in it for me on the back end mentality, which I think a lot of people have this false sense of generosity. Sometimes you get that person who donates just to put their name on the museum front, front lobby just because it strokes their ego. And I love the anonymous givers and those people who really show up. And just one of our 10 alignments of being a happy hustler, we have these 10 different areas of life we focus on, but one is called selfless service, and that's a big piece to the puzzle. Garnet, what's your thoughts when it comes to philanthropy? Do you have a thesis that you operate from on when to give and which type of form to give? Because we talk about giving insight, finances, and time. It's this acronym GIFT that we operate from. Is there a thesis that you operate from when it comes to philanthropy?
So we have a charity of our own, and we give money to where it's appropriate. The philosophy I have for the charity is that most most places need time as much as they need money. And so any of my family that want to give to a charity have to be prepared to serve the charity and not just say, here's a check. So that really made it way more interesting watching how people really don't want to get involved. But
Yeah.
from my own personal perspective, I give where I'm involved. So hospitals, cancer, different things like that. But I give of my time because people gave of their time for me. So all the way through life, as I was progressing, I met people who gave me their time and I learned from them. So I mentor 4 people. I really enjoy that. And I know I make their head hurt a lot. And I can do it probably within the first 15 minutes. And then they got another 45 minutes of making it all the way to a migraine. I get involved. I get involved in stuff. So, if I'm a Genius Network, I'm prepared to be involved. And again, and I try to always do the follow through that I tell people I'm going to do. So if they want to talk to me offline, I make a point of making sure that I talk to them offline. And so I think what your acronym that you use is really, really appropriate. Like we just have to be giving first, and even in business. So that's in Genius Network, the founder, Joe Polish, his whole thing is, you start off every conversation with what's in it for them, not what's in it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Sage wisdom for sure. I think operating from that frequency also just attracts the right type of clientele as well. And I think many entrepreneurs, are also struggling for meaning within their businesses. A lot of our stuff is centered around alignment. How do you have true alignment with incorporating, yes, your passion, which is like how I define your inward calling on your heartstrings, with that purpose, which is that outward serving mission to ultimately make a positive impact, right? Those are like the 3 pieces of actually happy hustling: that passion, purpose, and positive impact. What is one thing you wish more entrepreneurs knew about building a life of meaning, not just money?
I think that I have a simple little mantra. And that mantra I learned that was at the whole start of my transition. And every morning I get up and first thing I kind of think of is, to what problem am I a solution?
Mm,
And it's that simple.
mm,
So I don't give up thinking, oh, what am I going to do? I just, well, what problem I'm solution? So when you walk around with that mantra all day long, you see lots of interesting things.
mm,
So, I mean, again, going back to AI, so I'm talking to young kids and I see they're completely oblivious to the size of the train. So I went and found out a whole bunch of different little courses you can take on AI to understand the size of the train that's coming for everybody, so that you can figure out how to be a train mechanic.
mm,
And so to what problem am I a solution? To what problem are you a solution? I mean, you've articulated what problem you're solving. So I think if we just have that mantra and it's in our mind and we approach everything in life like that, I think it's exciting.
Yeah, I definitely love that frame. To what problem am I a solution? I know for our stuff, a lot of people come to the Happy Hustle because they're imbalanced and burnt out. And we have a system that basically helps them crush it both personally and professionally. And I know both of you probably have friends who are quite successful professionally, but maybe personally they're lacking a lot of fulfillment, and connection and love and just overall joy in their everyday existence. Um, Anything specific for you, Olivia, that you do to make sure that you stay systematically harmonized, aka happy hustling?
Um, oh gosh, I'm in a people business. I kind of similar to you, I guess, right? That
Hmm.
I work with individuals in a personal growth area,
Hmm.
pertaining to their health, but everything's interconnected, right? Like if you
Right,
don't
right.
have good social health, you don't have good relational health, you don't really have health. So um, I think that the thing that's made it most meaningful to me is if I care about people, right? If I truly care about people, which means that I have to be in balance with my own compassion towards myself. I had to learn and
Mm,
grow my own self-empathy, because I can only empathize and have compassion towards people to the extent that I can understand pain and suffering. And if I'm
mm,
avoiding or dissociating or distracting or not caring for myself, I cannot learn the true path of suffering that other people have walked. So my personal growth helps me understand the pain and suffering of others. And it's only when I truly can stand with someone in solidarity and in support of what they're going through that I can
mm,
actually be available to them to care for them in the way that they need it. I think so much of my career was about me becoming an expert, trying to gain the knowledge through academia and through certifications and courses. And that was, really just to make sure, I think there was integrity in that, so that I was making sure that I was delivering the best that I could. But it was really
mm,
very much half of the puzzle. The other half of the puzzle was being really able to understand what the human in front of me is going through, or at least be willing to listen compassionately and show up for that person
mm,
as much as I possibly could, so that I'm only offering what they truly need, not what, all the knowledge that I would like to throw at them would say would mean that I'm doing a really good job.
mm,
It took me a really long time to learn that lesson, and the better I get at that, I think the better, the more my business has grown. And not because I've necessarily brought in hundreds more people, because marketing is something I'm still learning to be better at. But the people that do get to work with me, I've had people that I still work with 15 years later. So I do think there's something that I'm doing that is allowing me to maintain that sort of connection with people over time.
yeah. Yeah, you definitely have to, as they say, I know it's cliche as all get out, but put your oxygen mask on first, and then you can serve others from that overflow. And I think, especially when you are serving in a personal capacity like you are, you have to be empathetic as well. So if you're out of balance and you're not able to take care of self, it's going to be difficult to take care of others. Speaking of which, Garnet, I know you've taken care of many others throughout your companies and you've led massive teams. As a leader, what is the biggest mistake in your perspective that you see leaders make in this day and age?
Lack of humility.
Mm,
So I don't wake up, well, I wake up every morning worried about what I don't know, not proud of what I do know, because
mm,
I know very little. And so
mm,
I'm always striving to learn more. And the other thing I learned is actually I don't run any of my companies because I really sucked at it. So I learned to let other people run the companies, and I
mm,
just focus on what I do, which is trying to anticipate what problem to solve, or where is the train going, not where was the train. And
mm,
so people used to say to me, you have this uncanny ability to see around corners. And you say, well, actually, I don't. I'm just looking for problems in the field that we're working at. And I try to
mm,
be really honest with myself all of the time,
mm,
about really what are my capabilities. So like,
mm. Yeah, lack of humility, that is definitely a flaw of some leaders and a massive perk of others. When you do have humility and you operate from that, I guess again, that mindset, I think people would much rather follow that person. Right. um, for you guys both, I want to just throw this out there. If you had one takeaway for the reader of 17 runs, what would you hope that they're left with? Olivia, starting with you.
Yeah, I think that the biggest takeaway for me personally is the culmination of the book. You never know if you're going to head out into the world any given day and meet somebody who's going to become a part of your inner circle, this
Mm,
person who's going to support you and show up for you in your growth and in your challenges.
mm,
The reason why that happened for Garnet and I, we refer to it at the beginning of the book, is our basis of integrity is summarized well through Dan Sullivan's 4 referability
mm,
habits. You
mm,
know, mean what you say, do what you say, sorry, say please and thank you, show up on time, and finish what you start. And because Garnet and I are both of those people, we showed up at that level for one
mm,
another, and therefore we elevated each other in that way. So
mm.
in that process, I guess. So
Mm, yeah, I
show
love
up.
those. Jan
Show up.
Sullivan's a legend too. These definitely, yeah, one of my favorite authors that the recent book I recommend all the entrepreneurs out there watching and listening also read, in addition to 17 runs, is 10x is easier than 2x, right? One of his newer reads. Garnet, what would you hope the readers leave as the biggest takeaway from the book?
Um, I guess that if you operate it at a high integrity wavelength to yourself and to others, if you understand the problems you're solving, if you're prepared to get knocked down and get back up, because you can't solve big problems without getting knocked down and getting back up. And if you make decisions and stick with them, you'll be successful. And it's just not, there's no such thing as, you can win a lottery, that maybe you can become wealthy that way, but pretty well everything is a function of just getting knocked down, getting back up, moving your goals a little further, getting that knocked down, getting back up, and then looking in the mirror and being honest, what you are. So I have a different view of family. Family has to earn its way, and biological or not, it's the same, because we all have to work together to improve, our world around us. And so, and the other thing, just to show you how slow a learner I am, I've been in strategic coach for 30 years.
Oh, wow. There you go.
I'm really a really slow learner. And that's probably one of my biggest strengths, is I'm not that smart.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I will say, you're a constant learner. I think that's one of the best qualities of every entrepreneur that I know who's higher performing, individual. They don't rest on their laurels. They actually continue to push, iterate, and evolve. So that's awesome to hear. And I know both of you do that. Where can people go, Olivia, to get the book? Where's the best place for people to follow you guys online, specifically?
Well, online, they can find us at our handle on Instagram at Life Lessons on the Run. If they're wanting to pick up the book, they can do so through our website at 17runs.com. 17 is the number, or wherever fine books are sold. And Garnet and I did narrate our audiobook, which we loved. Loved narrating it, and we hope people enjoy listening to both of our voices, which is pretty unique for an audiobook.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. Audiobooks that the authors read, I think, are so much more impactful too. So I'm glad to hear you guys did that. So 17runs.com. Why 17? Let's hear it.
The book was originally written for my son, who was 17 at the time that we started the book, because it's for anyone going through that transition in life where they're trying to figure out who the hell they are and what they're going to do in the world. All of us, constantly.
Yeah, right.
Over again.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still there and I'm not
Yeah.
17 anymore, but
Word.
very cool. Okay, I want to put you guys through the rapid fire round. This is just some random questions I like to ask. And then we'll wrap this interview up. So I'll just do it in this order. Garnet, first one, you answer, and then you answer right after Olivia. And then I'll go to the next rapid fire question. Sounds good?
Scared. Are you scared, Garnet?
All right, here we go. Favorite food, go.
Szechuan beef, although I haven't had it for 30 years.
Thanksgiving dinner, because everyone is gathered around the table.
There you go. I love it. Favorite movie?
Green Mile.
Memoirs of a Geisha.
Favorite book?
How to See Yourself as You Are by the Dalai Lama.
Broken Open by Elizabeth Lesser.
What's your spirit animal?
Firebird.
I'm an elephant.
Love it. Best business advice?
Sorry?
Best business advice?
Basically, be a solution to a problem.
Show up for people, love and care for them.
Love it. Happy hustle hack for your health. Something uniquely you. Like Garnet, something that you do that might be a little unique for your health.
Follow instructions.
There you go. Olivia?
Oh my gosh. Listen to something really inspiring first thing every morning.
Love it. Happy hustle hack for your money. Again, something uniquely Garnet and Olivia.
Stop watching it.
Respect it.
Happy hustle hack for your spirituality. Something you do to connect to a higher power.
Spend an hour each morning saying absolutely nothing, just letting your mind work through things that it needs to work through.
Take your dog for a walk and watch how happy it makes her.
Yeah, there you go. Love it. 3 things you're most grateful for today.
Waking up, staying awake, and getting to do business.
Nice.
Oh, dang. This is a tough one. The first thing that came to my mind, okay, a family member passed away today, but I'm so grateful I got to meet them.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Garnet, final question in the rapid fire round. If you had a billboard for the world to see with your last piece of content on there, what's that billboard read?
I never quit trying.
Love it. Olivia?
You're okay.
Crush that rapid fire round, you two. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you both. Thank you for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom, your lessons from running together, and far-reaching just knowledge that, was interchanged between both of you in a different format. It's interesting to have, the mentor and the mentee, but also you guys are one and the same for each other. So it's cool to have you both on the mic and to hear your journeys. So thank you again for sharing your wisdom with the Happy Hustlers today.
Well, thanks for this opportunity. It was just wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, super fun, Cary. Lovely to meet you. I love your website, by the way. I want you to know that. I think it's really cool. Nicely done.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I always like to just tie a bow on everything we talked about. What do you want to really make sure you leave the Happy Hustlers with? Garnet, we'll start with you.
I just think that, well, there's an old saying of Henry Ford, Shakespeare, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. And I think that if you couple that with solving problems for people, you'll be successful in business.
Garnet and I's one of our favorite quotes, one of the things that bind us, is by Mother Teresa. And the problem with the world today is that we draw the circle of family too small.
Love that. Well said. Final question I ask all my guests. What does happy hustling mean to you?
Well, it's kind of how I live my life. I mean, I never take my foot off the gas, and I keep my life in balance. You can work hard and still, have a beautiful life. And so I think that we just need to focus on doing good for others, and things kind of have a way of working out.
Love that. Olivia?
I love that you're keeping the word hustler alive, honestly, because I feel like we're hearing a lot about the anti-hustle movement, but I think that we can't keep our foot off. We must keep our foot on the gas, like Garnet says. Like, if we believe in a mission, then we got to work really hard towards it. But like you say, enjoy the journey, become the best version of yourself in the process, and do the best you can.
Love that. Mic drop. Garnet and Olivia, thank you all for watching and listening. We are out, everybody. Peace and love.